What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today you join me on the inside of the Evo 3. Now the reason that we're inside is because there is a lot of wind and it's giving too much interference, too much noise. So today we are going to take a look around the car. We're going to take a drive in the car and I'm going to try to capture the car in some different spots so that you can really appreciate the lines and the design of this really cool Evo 3. So let me set off and let's crack on with showing this awesome little car. Here we are inside the Evo. Now we're going to take a little run. We're going to see how she performs. Now, just before we start to go further into the countryside and get lost between the trees, I just want to talk very briefly about my experience with this car. Now, this is actually my second one of these. I owned one when I was around, could be 20. I had a lot of cars, so if you hear me reference I had one of these when I was 20, then most likely it's because when I was 20 I had about 20 cars. I was going through a lot of cars back then to be able to afford to come to Japan, to just try different cars, much like I do now, but 21 years ago. So I had one of these when I was roughly 20 and it was a black Evo 3. I think the mileage wasn't that high. It was something like 70,000 kilometers, but I guess 21 years ago it wouldn't have been that low either. It probably would have been average. And I really liked that car. Back then, having an Evo was a real big deal, especially when you were about 20. They were almost uninsurable. I remember, as possibly some of you do too, trying to find insurance for a car like that. I used to sit on the elephant.co.uk site and I used to refresh under different car details. I used to change mileage, change yearly mileage, change the plan, just to see how I could bring the insurance premium down. And I actually got to the Evo 3 and it was something like £2,000 a year to insure the car, which is a lot of money. But when you're young and you just want something, you consider paying it. You know, I was changing cars up very often, so I actually thought that even if it says £2,000, I'm probably not going to be paying £2,000 because within a few months I'll change the car and the premium would change. I just thought, yeah, whatever, I'll do it. And there was a car that was local. I think a guy had brought this black Evo 3 over from Japan, as well as a couple of other cars. But he had brought it over. It was a fresh import. It was registered. And I think the car was something like, it could have been about £3,000 back then, which is not a lot of money at all, considering these are now, you know, pretty expensive. And I had a lot of fun in the Evo 3. It was something that people really looked up to back then. It was something that really meant, you know, it had a real meaning. It was a proper car that a lot of people wanted. Back then, actually, the Japanese cars were just starting to boom, so they weren't all that popular. I would say a couple of years earlier than me having the Evo 3 was when Japanese cars really started to coming over. So probably when I was around 17, 18 is when we used to get STIs, Evos, Celicas, MR2s, Supras, GTRs. They all started coming in around that time. I had already gone through a few different kinds of vehicle and the Evo 3 popped up locally, so I went down and I basically bought it on the spot. It was a pretty clean car because cars were quite clean back then. You know, it's not like now where you look through the auctions and you've got crashed cars, you've got poor condition cars, and the balance or the ratio was more toward clean cars. Back then, versus now. So I had a heck of a lot of fun in that Evo 3. I think I did keep it for probably half a year. The transfer case or something to do with the transfer box happened, I don't remember now, but it cost a lot of money, and as soon as I'd fixed it, I decided to sell it because I didn't want anything like that happening again. So the experience whilst it was running right was pretty good. I'm not going to lie, it was a really cool car to have back then. Let me pull these windows up. Now, moving fast forward 21 years, I had the opportunity to buy this car for a pretty good price, I believe. You know, if you look at today's market for the Evo 3 or any early Evo, you're not going to find too many examples left. I think there's a few 1s and 2s up for sale, but the 3, there is maybe only 2 for sale currently here in Japan. One of them is white, the same as this car, and it has probably over 200,000 kilometers, 240,000 kilometers. You can see rust on the body in the pictures, and the seller wants over 2 million yen. I think it's something like 2.4 million yen. And then there's another car which is also available in Tokyo, and it has the livery on it, Rothman's livery, and that car also is not in the best condition. You can see there's rust on the roof, which seems to be a common area. There's rust around the arches. The condition on the underside, I think it's been painted black. So it's not the best example, and even that is 3 million yen. They can be a lot of money. Goodbye, I'm in fourth. And the pickup. Yeah, I mean, there's just so much fun. They're so addictive. Anyway, getting back to those 2 examples, there aren't really many, and there isn't really anything that I believe coming close. There's nothing that comes close to this as an example. And to get into this car a little bit, this car was from a oldish dude who's had the car for probably 15 years. He actually worked for Mitsubishi, so he knew that he had to take care of this car, and he did. There is a massive list, dates, prices, part numbers of parts that he has replaced on this car, and there's a real big list. I mean, it's got dealer books, it's got receipts, previous inspection reports. There's a real ton of history on this car, and those are the types that I like to get my hands on. The other good points to this car is there's no rust underneath. It's a white underbody, which is a rarity to see on an older car now in Japan, because people seem to get it into their head that they need to black out the under with treatment, if it is treatment, or just to hide rust. You can see a lot of those cars in the auctions, but this one is white underneath and there's no rust. I'm completely blown away at the condition of this car, and the body actually is also pretty clean. I think there's a dent down on the left side passenger door, and there may be some fine little scratches. The wheels could do with a repaint, but other than that, it is pretty good. But it's not really just cosmetics and the way the car looks that gets me. It's because the previous owner has done so much to this car and really maintained it and regularly changed oil and not abused it. You can really feel that in the way that it drives. I've driven quite a lot of cars that are a bit ropey and they're a bit lazy, but this is very much, it's really alive. You just dab the accelerator a little bit and it's ready to go. It doesn't have any real sign of it's been abused. It doesn't give me anything to give me any doubt. I have no doubt in this car. I have complete confidence. It's also almost fully stock original. I think the suspension is The coilovers have been changed. Except for that, there's nothing else on this car. The exhaust is original. The wheels are original. There's no boost gauges anywhere. There's the odd additional badge that the previous owner has put on, and I think there's this aftermarket navigation system in here. And I can also just see behind the plastics for the door speakers that they look to be upgraded. So the guy has done stuff that he didn't really have to do. And, you know, we're talking of an oldish chap, I think in his 60s for sure. Actually, one of the things that I want to mention to you is that on the day that the guy handed over the car, there were some tears from his side. He loves Mitsubishi, he works for Mitsubishi, he's had the car probably around 15 years. He was very attached to the car, and I want to find this a nice home. You know, of course I can't always sort of avoid buying and selling cars, because I do have to make a living as well. It is what I do, and I do try to find those cars, but at least I can help try to find a really careful, loving owner for this kind of car. And I think I have. So I have a contact in Tokyo, and he goes by the name of Captain Bradford, and he's an absolute Mitsubishi fanatic engineer, worked on Mitsubishi cars, helped develop Mitsubishi cars, and one of his contacts has been looking for an older Evo in this kind of shape, and I believe that the car is already sold. I believe the deal is already done. So I thought, okay, I'm going to need to act quick before the deal is completely done. I really do need to get this car on a video and show just how cool they are, you know. I don't know quite why they're not as popular as they should be. It seems a lot of people are going for the Evo 5, 6 and now 7, but there is a lot of fun to be had with these earlier cars, especially the 3. It is an aggressive look. It is, in my opinion, probably the better of the first 3 examples. This one, actually, there is another modification that the guy has carried out, and I think he has painted the black intake ducts on the bonnet, so the front end does really look quite aggressive, and I like that. But you know, I think some people, they prefer the stock original white front. Either or, this is a very, very rare example. The mileage is on 116, but it feels more like a 30,000-40,000 kilometer car. It's condition wise, yeah, I would put it at a lot lower mileage wise than what it's on. And it's just one of those cars that you can't really find out here in Japan anymore. The good stuff really is getting harder to find. And with there being only 2 examples of the Evo 3 for sale right now, and both of them being in pretty poor condition, that tells me that it's extremely hard to get an Evo 3 right now in decent condition. I'm a little bit sad to let it go because of those facts. You know, I don't think I'm going to get another one of these in this shape. And it is what it is. It's the job. I am in this field where I do come across these cars and I do have to let them go, unfortunately, as much as I want to keep them. I cannot keep them all. The other side of why I haven't really kept this car is because I prefer, this is going to stir the pot a little bit, I prefer the STI. It's the noise, it's the dash, it's, you know, the layout of the dash in the Evos, the early Evos, is very plasticky, it's very, like, right there, you know, stand-up-ish. But the STI, the earlier Imprezas, they're a little bit lower, they're a little bit, for me, I just prefer the dash layout. I prefer the sound of the car mixed with a similar performance as the Evo 3. This car possibly is sold, and I think it's going to be very, very good for someone. Someone's going to be very, very happy with this thing. Still very, very much alive. And one thing that I really do notice about these cars is just how pointy, how easy they are to glide through corners and just point and shoot, basically, and how much fun they are. You can feel how light they are, you can feel how nimble they are, and how torquey, and just I actually think that Evos are the better car compared with with Subaru, with Imprezas, but for some reason I am a STI guy. But yeah, bags of fun, absolutely bags of fun. And this example, like I explained, it really shows how an Evo should be, especially an early one. I really love the grip. I really love the power delivery. There's not really any lag. It's just there. The car is almost stock. It doesn't have a boost controller. It doesn't even have an intake. It doesn't even have a aftermarket exhaust. So you can't hear the sounds that I'd like to hear. But in some cases, these cars are better off when they are untouched, especially in a case like this where it's probably the only Evo 3 that is untouched, because they've all got something, and yeah, okay, this does have some coilovers on it, but it doesn't have any exhaust, it doesn't have any performance enhancing. It just eats up the corners. I mean, fourth gear still pulls, and hard. The brakes on these earlier cars are not that great, but on this one the pads are good and the brakes feel good. Really stepping it. I can feel the back wants to back wants to step out. I'm in third gear. Wow. Oh, that kick as you come around a corner the grip is phenomenal. It's just a really, really well put together for something that came out in 1995. You can absolutely feel it is on rails, and you have so much confidence. It gives you so much confidence. Let's come out of this corner here on a good. Yeah, it's. If you're hearing something going off and talking Japanese, it's trying to tell me that there potentially is a police car ahead, or a little police box, or a camera. Yeah, what a cool car. And out here where I live, there are some amazing roads to really test the ability of this car. Okay everyone, thank you very much for watching. It's been a total blast having this little gem in my hands for the last few weeks. I do believe that it is sold, so it probably is the last video that you're going to see with this car in it. Really, really cool to have, awesome to own. If you have a chance to own one of these, I 100% would. And yeah, I'd try and keep it in your collection if you have the chance. They're really, really rare now out here in Japan, and buckets of fun. So thank you very much once again for watching, and I will see you on the next one.